question for today is, when are you done with science? All right, welcome to the Inquiry Zone, everyone. So glad that you're here. My name is Sally Bawtinheimer. I'm a STEM educator at ETHOS, and I'm here with my boss.
Your boss.
Yeah, exactly. Mr. Taylor.
You hold your own. I don't feel like a boss at all. Yes, it's John Taylor. Glad to be with you again. You have great questions. Teachers ask these questions, and they're things we all kind of wonder. And what was the one you had for today?
Yeah, the question for today is, when are you done with science?
I was done like half an hour ago, I think.
Yeah, I think a lot of our students can relate to that, right?
Yeah. Are you ever done?
I don't think you're ever done, right? We want to keep on inquiring.
Oh, my word. Yeah, I remember there's a quote, and I'll completely misquote, but whoever the patent office director back in like 1900s, for a century ago, he says, I think everything that's going to be invented has been invented.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Little
thinking,
did he know.
Yeah, there's a whole lot more coming.
Yeah, so I think, when we are approaching science, our students and ourselves even sometimes just want to get to like a point where you are finished. You're like, are we done yet with our study of electricity? Are we done yet with talking about what floats and what sinks? And just wanting to kind of have a conclusive finish. But we want to show our students that, you know what, just because we finished this study doesn't mean that we finished studying that topic.
No, that's true. It's kind of that balancing thing here, that when you come to the investigation, you work your way through, depending on your grade levels, like how many steps of the inquiry process you might get through, or how controlled it is. But when you get to that conclusion, I believe the most important part is as we've concluded and we've taken something from science, we got to give back. And so as a class, you got to think, what is that naturally next investigation? Is that good English there? Okay. What's the next investigation we should do? I always say, if we were to come back tomorrow and continue the investigation, what would we do? And then I say, we're not going to do this one, because this is one we're going to park for science. We're going to let somebody else have a chance at. And what would make sense? And this is a skill I think students do need to develop with what does go forward. So we are developing the inquiry mindset.
Yeah, it's important that you call that a skill, because when we call something a skill, then we realize that in order to improve that skill, you have to practice. You might have to, as a teacher, provide some coaching or some stems to help the students get that skill. And so as we look at this skill that we need to teach students to be able to continue the inquiry cycle and realize that, hey, just because I finished this investigation, I'm not actually finished. The cycle is going to start over now, and I'm going to go back to observing again and asking questions again. We're teaching them how to think that forward thinking, like you're describing.
Definitely. Yeah, and really practically speaking, as a teacher, we have so many things we have to do within a year. And I do think it's worth value to come back to the standards. Standards are there for a reason. And we hope that standards, because vertical articulation between the grades. And so we want to get through our content so the next teacher can take off. So when we are working with students, we are hopefully teaching the science standards, the language arts standards, math standards, and hopefully in an integrated way, so we can be efficient and effective. And instead of saying we're teaching this kit, or we're teaching this publisher, we don't teach publishers. What we teach is standards, and we use resources to allow us to do that. And so that's where, like, going through the investigation, it is good to come to a conclusion point, get to the end so we can stop and then pick up with the next topic and kind of move on through as we're hitting through the standards. But again, that skill at the end of saying, what would we do next? That's something we can definitely park somewhere, maybe on a wonder walls or in their notebooks. They can do this so that kids can contain that. And ideally in a previous, and you're in the previous, so in the next course, as you lead into the next course, hopefully the next grade, they may see that, or in a future grade that comes up. And I do think students will hold on to that for a while in their memory. It makes it kind of flow forward.
Yeah, it sounds to me like you're also describing that our goal is to think like a scientist and to know that scientists are always asking questions, always trying to inquire about what the next thing is. And it's okay if the answer is right now, I don't know, or we're not going to study that right now. I feel like I've heard a story before of you, John, like having a question about magnets, right? As a
Yeah.
child and not knowing the answer and that curiosity driving you to keep exploring.
Yes, yeah, very much so. Yeah. So, okay. So, if you are a teacher who are brave in the science, one thing I'd encourage you to try is try going a step beyond, try doing a lab. And it really comes into how your time is going for the year. And this might be an excuse also to really make it maybe language arts and math heavy, so you get more benefit out of that. But what if you let the students run an investigation and then run another investigation based off their questions? In fact, I was crazy enough to let my students each we picked like 3 different questions and we broke them into groups to go off on those questions as the next cycle. I made sure I had the resources, made sure I had thought about where this might go, and I let them go one step further. Just let you know, if you do that once, you'll probably do it again because it's a very addictive experience because you're like, wow. And the kids really will feel like scientists if you can do that. But again, I know not everybody has time. And then the grade level, it gets kind of tricky as far as maybe the level of inquiry you're comfortable with. I tell you that is something like end of the year, especially if you get to that point, you're post testing in the spring, and you want to try an investigation where you know the kids have a lot of questions that aren't answered, and allow them to explore that and then share about it. They'll be so proud of what they're doing. And it's talking about the engagement really is an opportunity for that to go off the charts.
Yeah, it sounds like you would really be valuing their thoughts and giving them a chance, like you said, to really mark, I am a scientist. I can think like a scientist. I can act like a scientist. I can do science, to really boost their confidence.
Yeah. And that actually, again, the world of real scientists, that's where scientists, that's where they operate into the fringes, into those other little tangential variables that everybody really does wonder about. Why don't things always work out the right way every time? Well, they always do. It's just you got to get into the weeds a little bit. All right.
Yes.
Did we answer the question?
I hope so. When does science end?
Never.
Never, right?
Well,
Keep going.
in a controlled way. All right. Well, thank you
Right.
everybody for joining us today. And hopefully it gave you something you could use in your classroom, something to learn from, and help you feel a little more comfortable with the level of science you're including. Remember the link at the bottom, send us more questions. See Sally around in training, ask her, we write them down, and then we talk about this. So thanks so much for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
We're excited to work with our amazing partners at Mary Daly Elementary School. Your student dedication is awesome.
ETHOS offers the Inquiry Zone professional development to schools. Helping to ensure a robust, fun, and cross-curricular approach to science is supported in all grades. Please contact us at contact@ethosinc.org. Okay, I'm gonna edit right now because I just lost a thought.
You're like, shoot.
What were we talking about before?
The cycle, it keeps on going. You don't have time to study everything, but it's okay. Like you were talking about cross-curricular stuff.
Yeah, I just had a brain fart.
The
Okay.
different senior moment, Dad.
I did. That's what we call it, right? Very good. Yeah, I lost it. It's completely gone. We'll edit that out.
And then the only thing maybe we wanted to talk about is, would there be a time where you would ever do your investigation again?
I got it back. That was it.
Okay.
Okay, a little pause.